Today we shall see the various schemes which promote self-employment. Now in self-employment, consider yourself that you have to start a business. What all things would you need? The first thing would be is idea, what to do, right? What do you want to do? So suppose I want to open a coaching class, right? One idea could be that I have to teach the student. Okay, so for that I need the skill. I mean, idea everyone has, but probably idea can be converted into a reality if I have the skill. The second thing is only a skill is not enough. If I am a good teacher, I will probably also need a building, some infrastructure to teach the student where a student can come. So there would be need of some kind of capital, and this capital will come from money. So if I have money, if I have a skill, probably I can start running my own business. So these are the two things, all the government schemes which are there in the category of self-employment, they try to provide either a skill or capital. You must have studied about a lot of a scheme. Please take the name of the schemes. And the third thing is, once you have started this your business, then there should be facilitation of your business. And then someone might say that, see, it's not enough that I am having a business, and I am producing some good. I should also be able to sell that good. So there are few schemes in the recent time which is also facilitating marketing. Ultimately you should be able to sell your produce. However, there are very few schemes in this category. Most of the schemes are in these two category only. And as you have already pointed out the name, like Pradhan Mantri Kausal Vikas Yojana, yeah, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kausal Yojana. These are skill development schemes which are ultimately facilitating self-employment. Prime Minister Vishwakarma Yojana. Prime Minister Vishwakarma Yojana has all these three components. Prime Minister Vishwakarma, whatever, write it down. So it has all these three components. Then there is a Stand Up India. Then there is a Startup India. A Startup India, like if you have to run business, probably you will have to compete with the existing businesses. So your path should be facilitated. How government does that? If you are a new company, you will get the tax incentive. You will have to pay less taxes. So this is a kind of facilitating. You do not have to follow those labor laws. There would be some relaxation in terms of compliances. So these are the things which are there in the Startup India scheme. Okay, and then Prime Minister Vishwakarma Yojana also have some element of marketing, like government e-marketplace is there. So government is allowing the MSMEs to sell its produce to the government agencies. Okay, so these are just the name, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kausalya Yojana. Now what you should do is you should make a separate copy of schemes, and in that copy allot at least 2 to 3 pages for each ministry. So you should compile these schemes ministry wise, allot 2 to 3 pages for each ministry, and in all the scheme you should refer to these things. First, which ministry. The second is objective. What is the objective of this scheme? Third is beneficiary. Who is going to be the beneficiary of this scheme? And fourth is any unique thing. Like as I told you that all the self-employment schemes aims at increasing a skill. I mean, a skill is probably the most abused word when it comes to drafting a scheme. If probably any IAS officer, when he sits down to draft a scheme, whatever ministry he belongs to, he will say that let's provide some skill training. I mean, take a name of the ministry, whether it's the Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Skill Development, Ministry of Minority. Every ministry has 1 or 2 schemes which is dedicated to, even Ministry of Home Affairs, a skill development. Okay, so probably this is not going to be asked. What is going to be asked is which department or which ministry is running which scheme, first thing. And the next scheme, if anything unique is there for that scheme, only unique aspect is going to be asked. Nowhere they are going to ask whether they are giving 10,000 rupees or they are giving 10,500 rupees. Most likely they are not going to ask. Even if they ask, you should leave that, because you cannot memorize all their schemes, na? ऑल द स्कीम्स में कितने कितने हैं वो नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है। वन मोर थिंग विच इज डन इज व्हेन द गवर्नमेंट गिव्स कैपिटल, usually government is giving loan. Now if I give you money, there are two ways possible, that you will return that money to me or you will not return that money to me. So if I am giving you a money which you are supposed to return to me, then it is a kind of loan. But if government is giving you a money which you are not supposed to return to the government, it is called grant. So in few schemes there is loan component. Most of the schemes have loan component. If they are providing capital, they usually provide in terms of loan. But there are a few schemes which also has grant component. So this is something that you should keep in mind, whether there is grant or not grant. The most of the schemes, what they have is they have subsidized loan. We have already studied subsidy. So subsidy is some money which government is giving to you. So what government does is that there is term called interest subvention. We have also discussed this term in past lectures, interest subvention. So in interest subvention, what government does is that rather than paying you the market interest rate, which are usually in the range of 10 to 12%, you have to only pay 4% interest rate. The rest 8% interest would be paid by the government. This is called interest subvention. Interest is reduced. Subvention, literal meaning of subvention is reduction. So interest is reduced. So this is a common practice in various schemes, that government reduces the interest rate which these entrepreneur have to pay. In probably Swanidhi scheme also there is interest subvention. Please check for it. One more thing which is personally that I have noticed is, if there is a scheme whose name does not indicate what is the purpose of this scheme, the chances of that scheme being asked is high. So for example, Swanidhi, it is not very clear what is the name of what is this scheme meant for. Okay, so or it is not clear that which ministry would be implementing this scheme. So the chances of such a scheme being asked are high. So always pay attention to those schemes. And for example, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana, it is very clear that it is in to be implemented in rural areas. There is Gramin in the name. Kaushal, so it is a scheme for the skill development. So there are very low chances that any question is going to be asked about this. UPSC usually do not ask question on this. So these schemes, I mean, you can guess by the name. Just check that whatever name is suggesting, the same is the actual scheme, and your work is finished.